Okay guys, check out my girl Lindsay's before. We are going to be adding a lot of depth into this blonde today, and get a good look at the before because she's not going to look like this much longer. I'm going to start off this process by mixing up two formulas. My first one is Shades EQ 7G 6N as a low light. I've got this 7G in there because it is gold. We need to fill her hair because it's blonde so it doesn't go warm and muddy, and the 6N for depth. I am mixing this with 10 volume just so I get longevity out of it. A lot of people think I'm crazy for doing this, but guys, I swear to God, use Shades EQ with 10 volume and you're going to get longevity out of your tone. The second formula I'm mixing up is going to be Wella Blondeur. I'm using 20 volume and Olaplex. We're just going to be adding in a few pops, mainly around her face to give her a nice bright money piece, but I have been loving this lightener for a few weeks now, and you guys should try it if you haven't. Wella Blondeur has been kicking it. It does have a bond builder in it, but just to give her a little bit more protection because she is so blonde, I'm going to be adding in 1/16 ounce of Olaplex just as our bond builder to even add another layer of protection and to keep everything nice and safe. So I'm going to be starting off by doing an upside down triangle at the top of the back of her head. I'm working from the bottom up, and up under that triangle I've just split it into two sections, a left and a right side. I'm going through with Formula 1, which is our low light formula, and I'm just going to be saturating more of a normal stitch, highlights all the way up. I'm not adding in any highlights at the nape of her head or anywhere in the interior because I want to darken up this interior. The way that I think about it is that people who have nice lived-in color have a lot of dimension on the inside of her hair, and that's what I'm going to be adding back into her hair here in the interior just to darken it up a lot. We're pulling our low lights all the way through. We're not doing any shadow lights, but if you are curious on what a shadow light is, I do have a full tutorial on it a few videos back on my channel. As far as this left and right section, I'm just going to be working my way up on a slight diagonal just because it's going to fall a lot more natural whenever our hair is down. Working on diagonals are always important whenever it comes to hair, especially whenever you're adding dimension back in. At least I feel that way. If you're going in with like a horizontal low light all the way up, I just feel like it doesn't look as natural and can almost come off a little bit more harsh. So we have worked our way up the left and the right side. I'm just working up that upside down triangle, and I am just going horizontally right here because it's gonna look the best right here, guys. I know I just contradicted myself, but you guys know what I mean. So I'm going to be going straight up. I'm going to be pulling most of the lights through, but in this top section I am going to be adding in a few shadow lights as well, just to ensure that her blonde ends do still stay nice and bright. Whenever I'm going to fold it up, I'm splitting the weave in half, kicking out the left side and the right side just so I don't get those nice blonde ends that I'm trying to preserve. Aren't going to end up with any splotchy marks or anything like that. And just to increase the amount of depth that we are adding in, I'm going to be taking that same low light formula and I'm just going to be doing a paint between because this is going to help extend her root a little bit and give her more of a lived in look. She wants to be really rooted so she can get longevity in between color appointments, and I said, girl, I got you. So the easiest way to do it is to tone down those blonde and help blend that line of demarcation by just bringing this low light formula down, and I'm just stringing it honestly to the length of the foil. And I am saturating both sides just so no hair gets left behind. So we are moving along to the front, we're moving and we're grooving. Honestly, low lighting is such a fast service. Even though you're still doing a full highlight, I feel like the time just flies by quicker. But starting off with our hairline, I am going to be brightening it up a little bit by doing a little bit of a highlight here. I'm still weaving, as you saw, because I want to leave a little bit of her dimension, and also when she pulls her hair up, I don't want it to be a super thick money piece in the front and then just super dark on the sides. So I'm going to be weaving a little bit, adding a few little pops right here. We're still going to have a little bit of dimension from the dropout of the highlight, and I'm only going to be doing about 2 right here, and then we're going to be transitioning straight back into our low light formula to add depth into the interior, just like we were doing the back. Everything's going to be nice and cohesive and match. We're adding in a lot of depth here, guys, but she's still going to be super nice and blonde. You just wait and see. Something else I'm going to be adding in just to ensure that everything is nice and blended is I'm not going to be pulling the first low light through on each side. And what that means is all I'm doing is a shadow light. So I'm going to be pulling the low light past the line of demarcation onto where her blonde starts. And I'm just going to be leaving it out on the ends just to ensure that those ends stay bright. But right after this, we're going back into pulling the lowlights all the way through the ends. And as we're working our way up, our diagonal sections are going to be slightly shifting into horizontal sections just so I can pack in as many as I can throughout this area of her hair. Something else I wanted to add about this formula, that is my low light formula I'm talking about, is I love low lighting with Shades EQ because anytime that Lindsay wants to go a little bit brighter, like summertime's around the corner, if it's summertime, she's like, hey, it's time for me to be a blonde baddie again. It's going to be super easy to remove this and strip this. If I was to go in with a permanent color, it would most likely more than one session to get her to her desired result. And it's time for my favorite part, which is adding in a money piece. So what I'm doing is a V-sectioning on her mohawk. This way it's going to be going all the way around her hairline, so no matter where she tousles her hair, it's still going to be nice and bright. I am weaving 2 foils to the left, 2 foils to the right, just more of a traditional highlight, still super thin sections so we get maximum lift. And then I'm going to be continuing straight back, working off of some slices. Now, when I was talking to her in her consultation, she said she really wanted a nice and bold money piece and then everywhere else to be really nice and dimensional, so that is exactly what we're going to be doing. Whenever I get to the center or the point of this V, I'm going to be working off of slices. That's what's going to give me that nice bright pop, but then we're going to be transitioning into a weave and then into our low light. That way it's a gradient blend from the pop from the slices, the transition from the weave, and then going into where she's going to have a lot more depth and it's going to be a lot more dimensional. You can almost think of it as if that weave before we start low lighting fully is going to be just our transition into where we're adding in more low lights. And something else I wanted to add right here is I normally wouldn't use 20 volume on the hairline, but our low light only has to sit for 25 minutes and then that is fully processed. So just so it goes a little bit faster, I know those hairline pieces are more fragile and my rule of thumb is to always use like a 10 or a 15 on the hairline. But since it is going to be a quick processing time, I'm just going in with the 20 volume right here at our hairline on a few foils, just so everything finishes at the same time. And just to ensure that everything stays nice and healthy, since we are using a little bit of a higher developer than I normally would, we have the insurance of the bond builder and our lightener already that's added in, and then we added in Olaplex, and we are not going to be overlapping, so it's still going to be a nice and safe process. And I want you guys to get a good idea of how I'm doing this money piece, so I am going to shut up and let you guys just watch this. But if you guys want a dedicated video to just different ways to do the money piece and the different ways that I like to do it for different looks and end results, please let me know in the comments below and I'd be so happy to do that for you guys. I think that this is honestly the most fun part of doing this service, is just adding that pop around the face, because it is so pretty to have a nice money piece, and then it's what the client sees whenever you turn them around and show them the end result of the service, and in their day-to-day life is going to be the first thing that they see most of the time. And after doing that hairline detail work, what I'm going to be doing is just continuing and going straight back from her hairline, adding in those low lights just like before. I am going to start off with doing a shadow light just to help where it's not a huge dark chunk right after that money piece to help blend it in. So I left those ends out, and then I'm going to be continuing by pulling those low lights all the way through as I'm continuing to meet in the end of this section. The reason that I chose to do a horizontal foil placement on this is because that's where you're going to see the most dimension. Our whole goal here when adding these low lights is to add dimension so she can be nice and rooted and lived in, and that is going to be the easiest way to achieve this is by going on a mohawk. continuing that same pattern and just being consistent with our work. Whenever I'm done foiling this section, I'm going to be setting a timer for 25 minutes, and then I'm going to be waiting to rinse until that money piece is completely lifted. And now that she is done processing, I've taken her back to the shampoo bowl. I'm going to start off by toning her, but first I did wash her hair twice. I did use just a regular shampoo. I used a hydrating shampoo, which is 7 Seconds by Unite. And what you would typically see me do on my channel is always clarify the client's hair before toning. However, if I'm ever adding in a low light at all, I don't care if it's one low light or the whole head of low lights, I'm never going to use that clarifying shampoo because I don't want to risk stripping that color, especially since we're using something like Shades EQ. So after I have washed her hair to make sure that all the product is out of her hair, I'm going straight in with my toner. You guys, I have been toning before I've been rooting lately. I don't know why I decided to switch it up. I just feel like it balances everything out and makes everything nice and even. And then I add my root and then I wash and then I'm donezo. But what I'm toning with, let me get to the main point of what I'm doing right now. I'm using Shades EQ 9VG and 9M. 9M is a matte color, and honestly, the only way I know how to describe it is a sandy tone. And I really love this tone whenever it's paired with anything that's more of a dimensional look. And the 9VG is a violet gold, so it's mainly violet based, so it's going to be counteracting any yellow tones in her hair at all. And then the gold in there is going to help it not go a little bit too ashy. And we are going to be taking and utilizing our #1 rule that is in the Jay-Z Bible, and that is our 1-minute rule with toning. So I'm going to leave this toner on until it looks scary, leave it on an additional 1 minute, and then we can rinse it. Straight after that, I'm going to be rinsing it out and then setting her up, brushing her out, and I'm going to be rooting her with 6N 7NB. This is my favorite root of all time whenever it comes to anyone who is blonde, which is exactly the look we're doing today. Any dimensional blonde is going to be my go-to. 6N is going to be giving a little bit of depth, and 7NB is just one of my favorite shades of all time. We low lighted with a 6-7, so I want her root to be a 6-7 just so everything is really nice and cohesive. I'm going to be applying this root a little bit further in the back, and I'm doing it on an angle here in the front of her ear forward, as you can see, so I can bring it down further in the back and not as much towards that money piece. Now I'm going to be letting this sit for 10 minutes, leaving out that money piece, and then we're going to be going through and tapping out that money piece just so slightly, leaving it on for an additional 5 minutes. So she's going to be processing in this root for a total of 15 minutes, and of course brushing it all through just to give it that nice blend. Waiting to tap out that money piece last is going to help keep everything super nice and bright. After I let it process for that 5 minutes, like I said, I went ahead and washed her out, and wham bam, here is our end result. As you can see, she has a lot more dimension, but it is still super bright to the front. It's nice and rooted in bronze, and I am in love with this color. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you take something away that you can use in the salon on your clients. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ask any questions in the comments below, and I will catch you next week with another hair tutorial.